Good. That's, so we saw the Ahava, which comes from the Goya Shalamalami Ha'ilamas, the Chafloa, and then we saw the Ahava of Incho Loichofatzti. Well, we saw that was the Ahava Mipfinas Atzmaserente. That's the year of Shalagamri Lamaila Me'a'ilames, the year Miyuchet Bi'atzmusa Yisborach, and that was the Yisbonanas of Yehudi Iloah in Shema Yisrael. And we saw that was the union of the Yehuda Iloah and the Baruch Shem Choyd Malchutzari is the union of Yehuda Tatoa. So that the Yichud of Yehuda Tatoa was connected with Malchus. We saw that Malchus was the Mokia HaElames, and therefore we're obliged to say that since Malchus is the Mokia, the highest of the Elames, that they have to have some form of Tfisas Mokim, the Gabi Malchus. Because if not, then what are they giving life to? They're giving life to the Elamas, which means that there's a relationship of Malchus to the Nivroim, and therefore they're batil to the source from which they are Makabel, or their highest, but that's a bittul of Yesh Bilvad. Avol Gabi Oirin Sexual Mailami Elamas, then Einam Teivsim Mokim Klau. That the Elamas and the Nivroim are not Tevis Mokim, Ainu she'enam b'bchinas Metzias Klau. And that was the bittul of Yehuda Iloah. So we saw that the difference is that Yehuda Iloah is a oyer which is Lamaila from to be a mocker of highest to the Elamas. And therefore the Elamas literally have no place to gabi that whatsoever. That's the Lashon Einam Teivsim Mokim. In other words, that they themselves don't have any place, or they don't feel any Metzias if they were able to be masik or to be aware of that madrega, then they would lose their whole Metzias altogether. Ein be'er Metzias Klau. That's the union of Yehuda Iloah, which means that Yehuda Iloah is that what is felt and what is known. And that's why sometimes this is called Das Elyon, and Yehuda Tatoa is called Das Tachtoin. That what is felt and what is known is only Elokus. And therefore the union of Metzia has no place there, because it's at the Eibishter, BMS, and there's no other possibility of any Metzias apart from him. Mashenkin Yehuda Tatoa is that the Eibishters come down, but they're Tzimtzum, your reader, to be a mocker, to give rise to the Elamas. And therefore we have to say that, like Gabi, that level in Elikus, the Elamas do have a certain place, because he's, as it were, being Mahavadem. So since he's being Mahavadem, then they must have some relationship to the mocker, which is giving them their chayim. But they're batil to that. But that's only a bittul of a makabel. Somebody is receiving his chayas, and he knows that his whole chayas is dependent on that. And therefore he's bottled, but it's still a bittul of a yesh. And that's the difference between Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem. V'inyan hu, ki hinei ha'erin seif shel ha'mayla mi'o'elames, ari hu gam kein meir al ha'elames. V'yadua dal b'chinas u'madrega zu, ein ha'tzimtzum mastir klau. Amamela ha'elames betelim b'metzias legamre. The Yer shel ha'mayla mi'o'elames is also meir al ha'elames. In other words, that the oil, which is Gili ha'etem, it's purely the Gili of the Eibishter's etem, then it's not affected by the Tzimtzum. And even though there's a Tzimtzum of that particular Madrega, is not mustar al yedei the tzimtzum. So what does that mean? That the madrega, which is Gilui ha'etzem, Gilui ha'erein seif mamish, well, that's not ein tzimtzum mastir. What does that mean? So the truth of the matter is that the tzimtzum is not mastir anyway. The Alter Rebbe says that the tzimtzum is only mastir to the makablim. But really the tzimtzum doesn't occur in any real way. Meaning that the tzimtzum doesn't actually occur in the Eibishter and not in his light. It's only that there occurs a certain helem l'gabi the receiver. The receiver is not able to be aware of certain inyonim which are being made upon him or made to him, because if he were aware of them, then he wouldn't be able to have a machia. So therefore, in order to make it possible for him to at least appear to be a machia, then we hide from him al yedei the tzimtzum, the gilui of the divine light and the divine influence to him. So I ask the question, in what level do we do that? So it's put that there are, as it were, two aspects or two ifanim of the divine revelation, Lamaila. One is which is only a gilui of Hashem himself. That's what we call gilui ha'etzem. And then there's another gilui which becomes a mokeh eventually for the elements. Even in the how this lifnei tzimtzum, there's sort of, as it were, a certain aspect of the which is going to later have a shaykhus elo elements. Like we see within a Rav, we take a Rav's hashpah to a Talmud, and there's a certain preparation within the Rav where he already has a certain idea of what eventually he's going to give to the Talmud, even though he never really began the whole Seder within himself of preparing that. Machikin, there's another Indian in the Rav where he's only busy for himself and he doesn't have any knowledge of another person. When I say knowledge, he's not bothered with another person at that point. That means the which is purely dovuk in his seichel. So what happens is that when the Eibishter made the tzimtzum, he separated those two levels. And the which is only shot to the Rav himself, or the if we take it Lamaila, that which is only Gilui of the Eibishter himself, that he, as it were, withdrew, and he made it like sort of outside the whole game, as you might call it. They withdrew it into himself or into a level where it's not chayah to be considered, as it were, for that at that particular point. And he left over this which is to be like eventually a beginner for the receiver or for the oilemus in our nimshal. And so where the tzimtzum occurred is in that light, or that light which has already become a prepared basis for the eventual makablim. That's where the tzimtzum actually occurred. And what is the tzimtzum? The word tzimtzum means reduction. In other words, that's where things were limited and where there occurred a limitation and a holdback and a reduction in the light that it shouldn't be in all its full Ein Sof, because otherwise the makablim are not going to be able to be makabel. And even that holding back and that reduction and all those inyanim also is not mamish kipshuti. That's only the gavi the makablim also. The original madrega of that light remains the way it is. But the makablim are not able to sort of see the various madregas within the light, only that which is meant to reach them. So Kumta is that the original light, which was Gilui of the Eibishter Mamish, well, that remains completely beyond the tzimtzum, and the tzimtzum didn't have any effect on it. All it did was sort of like separate it off from the which is going to be a mocker to the elements. So that means that the which is completely Lamaila Elemas wasn't really affected by the tzimtzum in any way. All it was affected was that it literally drew apart and went into separation from the which is going to be tied to the elements. But that means that it's just there like it was before, for all intents and purposes. Because the fact that we say we separated it, we don't mean that we moved it anywhere, it just remained there. But it's just too high for the elements. And therefore there's no relation to the tzimtzum whatsoever. Because it's also too high in inverted commas even for the Tzimtzum. He said, therefore, what happens is that even though all these Tzimtzumim occur in that lower level of the oil, which was meant for the Makablim and for the Eilamas, well, that other oil just remains completely as it is, as it was, or as it is, to be more correct. And that's called Loi Noga Boy HaTzimtzum. It didn't affect it whatsoever, the famous Lashon. The oil HaIn Seif HaMiti Loi Noga Boy HaTzimtzum. That's just everywhere, just like it was before. So, I mean, the truth of the matter is that even when the Tzimtzum is occurring in this other level, which is tied to the Eilamas, each level also, that doesn't mean that the is being hidden, it just means that it's not able to come to the Makabel. So really that also is not really hidden by the Tzimtzum, but at least it's affected by the Tzimtzum, in the sense that it's not made to the Makabel in its full level, on that level, and then on another level, and a further level. But yeah, on each level, as it were, the oil remains as it is. Just the receivers, it's not able to be noticed. Mashing in the original, when we say the oil, which is Gilui of the Eibishter, Gilui of the Etzem himself, well, that just remains completely unaffected by the Tzimtzum. But that doesn't mean that any actual change has occurred. So that means that in the middle you've got the Kavioho, in the middle you have the Eilamas, and then you have this oil which is just everywhere, and those Tzimtzumim and the Shayach Eilamas, and all the Makablim from those Tzimtzumim, and all the Nivroim are just sitting in the middle of all this oil. This oil ain't safe, which was never affected by the Tzimtzum. And they're not just sitting in the middle of it, it's just all around them, it surrounds them completely. And that's the famous expression, that place, how do you call it, place asar panui minai, that there's no such thing as a place which is empty from him, meaning he himself, because he's just everywhere, and so is his oil ain't safe, it's just everywhere, because the Tzimtzum never affected that. And even those levels that it did affect, they remain also as they are, but just that they're not noticeable. This is not beyond being noticeable or not noticeable, it's just what it is, it's Gilui of the Etzem. And therefore, the Rebbe said that's just Meir on the Oilam, Al Ho'ilamas. And why do you use the word Al Ho'ilamas? Because they're not in any way able to receive that in their pneumias, but it's there. And they're in it, and it's present, Legabi them, but they're not able to sense it. Like we saw that even in Sodus HaShlila, Legabi the Sefer, you can only have how do you call it, a negative cancelling out idea of the Maki. But that's a Maki for Proti, that's called the Sefer Kolam. But that's in these levels of the oil, which is, affected by the Tzimtzum. Then higher Madregas, like we said, remain anyway the way they are, Legabi the Tzimtzum. And they're called Sefer, what you might call Sefer HaProti. But the Sefer HaMiti is this oil which is completely, is present, not affected by the Tzimtzum. So Rebbe said, the Rebbe, that oil is just anyway there, and the Eilamas are inside it. Or Mamela, Eilam is B'Teilim B'Matzias Legabi. It means that Legabi, that Gilui, the Eibishter, they have absolutely no Matzias whatsoever. And where are they B'Teilim B'Yesh? Only Gabal Dior HaMatzumtzum. And Dior HaMatzumtzum is only for them, and only comes to them. It also remains the way it is, really. It's also not affected. And Mamela said that everything, the whole Tzimtzum is only a one-way thing. It's only Legabi the B'Kablim, or not B'Yemes. And therefore, the oil is not affected by the Tzimtzum. It doesn't even have any worries. Lo Noga Boy HaTzimtzum. It just, how to call it, remains completely and utterly the way it was, and all the elements are in the middle of it. And therefore, we're all in the middle of Atzma Saint Sev. He's all around us. But then we're not able to even sense that. I mean, we can sense it maybe, as is more in certain drushim, but we can't really be aware of it in the real sense. It follows that we are bottled by Matthias without us really knowing it. We don't really know just how bottled we really are, do we? If you like doing drawing, then maybe you do it some other time. You understand? Because some people think that by drawing and scribbling that their mind gets deeper into the inyanim. I'm sorry, it's not like that. The proof of my experience over the years has shown that doesn't happen to be the case. That the worlds are bottled b'metzias, but they don't feel it. That's why we don't feel bittul b'metzias, because we're inside the oil and it's everywhere and we're within it, but it's too high for us altogether because it's completely beyond what makes us a mokir to feel things, but that's a tzimtzum. So therefore, since it's beyond the tzimtzum, we're just inside it, and we're bottled completely ligabi it, but we're not aware of that bittul. And the immediate union of the avodah is to become aware of that bittul. And so then once you are, then you become really bottled. You become bottled by bottled by metzias.
How is it that we see it? How is it that we perceive it as if it is different?
How do we perceive it?
How is it that we?
How can we ever become aware of it? That's what you want to say.
Yes.
Well, that's what we're going to see. If you makayim later on, we're going to see if you makayim the mitzvahs, the rusa deliba, and that's connected with this whole concept of Kabbalah that we saw earlier. Then you become, as it were, in a very distant way, you can become aware of it, and you can sense the oil, not by Hasogas HaShlila, because we saw that Hasogas HaShlila, we get to a certain level, even within the Savior. But nonetheless, you can come to be what you might call appreciative of this oil in a very special way. We're going to see that's all in a Rusa Deliba. That's what the Yiddish and the Neshama is able to grasp, that level of Elikus through this level that we call Rusa Deliba. Well, that's only because, to a certain extent, we come from there anyway. To a certain extent, we are a chip off the
old block.
A chip off the old block. You understand? In other words, that we really come from that level. The Neshama has got an Akudu. That's what I mentioned in a few lines. He said that's the Yechidah Shabbanefesh. And even higher than the Yechidah, according to some Drushim. And therefore, we're able to sense it, even though we can't really understand it, klal. We're able to be aware of it. And that brings to two different inyanim. First of all, it brings to this Rusa Deliba, and it brings to a inim from Kabbalah Sale with highest. Instead of the Kabbalah Sale as being complete giving yourself away, beloy klum, you give yourself away with a bread. But it's the same thing. But the Rusa Deliba gives what you might call a brand into the Kabbalah Sale. And that's maybe, ulai. That's what another famous statement of Rav Hillel Parich. Rav Hillel Parich, he said that the inim from Chabad is a kalta brand. It's a kalta brand. In other words, it's fire, it's a brand, but it's like cool, it's called botem. That it's a tremendous brand of it leads to Kabbalah Sale. Because he was a Perlisher before he became a Makusha. You don't know the whole story of Rav Hillel? Oh, you guys. He was a leading Chernobyl chassid. He was Nachum Chernobyl followers. Rav Mordechai Chernobyl. He was one of his biggest chassidim. Hadikonim, Rav Hillel. You don't know the whole story, you guys. Oh, yeah. So he became shai to the Mittler Rebbe. And the Mittler Rebbe's daughter was married to Nachum Chernobyl's son. He was called the Cherkas. He was called Rabbi Yisrael, the Cherkas. And so the Mittler Rebbe, the Mottler Chernobyl was so brilliant that the Mittler Rebbe was taking Reb Hillel as his chassid. He said, if you don't give me back my chassid, Hillel, he said, I'm gonna tell my son to divorce your daughter. So the Mittler Rebbe, they came and they told the Mittler Rebbe that, and the Mittler Rebbe sort of snorted, and he said, He said he doesn't realize it. He said that one chassid is by mere tide of his sieben Techter. He said that one chassid is dearer by me than 7 daughters. So when so they went and told him what Chernobyl and that, and so he was a bit, he was taken aback, what to do with that. He thought he had a big trump card, he'd get his daughter divorced from his son, He'd get the middle of his daughter divorced from his son. So in the end, he tried to make the get, but she wouldn't have it. She wouldn't take the get because she said she's very happy with her husband. She's not going to divorce. Oh man! So in the end, the whole thing sort of calmed down there. But Rabbi still remained a little bit sort of. So anyway, he said that the Indian from Chabad was a cult of Bren because he knew what the Polish Bren was like. He said Chabad is a cult of Bren. It's cold fire. It's fire. Bottle, place, Kabbalah said.
What would be an example of a hot fire? Emotions? Emotions, yeah.
Yeah, his fire is not Beetle B'Metzias, you follow? Anyway, so, where are we here? Oh yeah, so we say that the Oyer Ein Teiv, the Oyer HaAtzmi is not affected by the Tzimtzum. Ein HaTzimtzum Master Klau Umameva, Ho'elam is betegnim B'Metzias Lagavi that Madrege in the Oyer, then the Oyelamas are completely bottom. Avo Lagavi HaOrer, Shenasum more clearly Oyelamas, but that's the union of the Oyer HaMetzumtzam, that's the Oyer which undergoes the Tzimtzum. And we say that Oyelamas Hein P'chinas Metzias, Ereshe Beteglim B'Pchinas Bittel HaYesh. The bottle, not even from Bittel HaYesh, meaning that they feel a certain awareness of their own being, but they're prepared to devote it to the divine all, as you might say. Bittul b'metzias is you feel only the Elikus and you don't feel yourself at all. In other words, it's the famous old cloud that we say that even either Elamus of the Pchinas, either Elikus is B'Pshitas or Elamus, how do you say it? How does it go? Elamus B'Pshitas. No, either we say Elikus of B'Pshitas or Elamus B'Pchinas Shaila, I forgot exactly the last one. Or is it, Kashmir? It's Kashus.
Lashon Chodosh. It's Chadashus.
It's Chazkes.
It's Chadashus.
It's Chadshus. Now you're talking. They're a Chiddush, yeah. They're a Chiddush. Yeah, it's Chadshus. Yeah, very nice. That was a lesson. They're a Chiddush. Or we say that the Elikus, that the Elams are B'chinas Pshitas, and Elikus of B'chinas is Chadshus. So Bittul of Yechudi Loaz, that Elikus is Pshitas, obvious, that Ein Oyer Muvada. And the whole idea of a Metzias is a Chiddush, it's a Chiddush which has to be worked out. How can you work it out? And the union of Yehuda Tattoo is the other way around, that the worlds are B'chinas Pshitas. The person feels the union for Metzias to be a Metzias, and Elikus is a new thing. It's a Hitzchach, is a new Indian legabi him that he's albeit he's bottled, but he doesn't really have a cue of a meaty to it. Therefore, it's called Chadashis, Hitzchachis. So those are two inyanim of Yechudi Loa and Bittul Hayesh. So Shema Yisrael, what Shema Yisrael is B'chinas Yechudi Loa. The Hikolel b'Yechudai Yisborach. The Diubim b'Yechudai, in his Yechud, in the Yechud, the way it is, Mitzad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the worlds have absolutely no Metzias, they're all B'Teilim Metzias, Mitzad the Oyer, which is not affected by the Tzimtzum. Or Baruch Shem Kveid Malchus Eleon, where Hu B'chinas Yechuda Tatorah, V'hainu Eich Sheb'chol Dor, Yesh Oyer V'chayis Eloki, in other words, that even though the Elikus is not musag, and it's not even felt to a certain extent, mitzad yichud tatorah, but nonetheless, the Niver reaches the point where he admits that that is the principle. That's how they call it, the the main aspect of emes existence that he's prepared to give, because he knows that his Metzias, Lagabi the Metzias of Elokus, is a Ainian Botel, but he can't come to the feeling and to live, be emes and begolui with the feeling of being no Metzias whatsoever. He can't ever quite get out of the feeling that he's a Metzias, and therefore he knows that the Ike is Elokus mitzad a distant understanding, but he doesn't live with that bittul. Therefore we call it bittul ha-hayesh, which means that in bittul hayesh there always has to be a certain trace of bittul b'metzias in order for the bittul hayesh to be good. In other words, he's got to be aware that there is a inyan completely beyond him, which is called Elokus, and that's Mechaya, that is the Iker Chayas of the Nivra. In other words, he knows very well that Chayas which is in the Nivra is only a horrible one, and that it comes from the immediate sin, and the Eibishter, he's ain't saved, or moved to Lagami Meo Elemas. It's just that he's not able to feel, he can't actually live Bittul B'Metzia. He's still within the feeling of the Yesh, but he knows that Elokus is the Ikar. He knows that that's the principle of all things. Just that he's not able to really feel and live with that bittul. Therefore we call it bittul ha-hayesh. Bittul b'metzias means that the whole metzias has been lost. Bittul b'metzias, bittul in the actual metzias. What that means that the receiver, or a certain b'nei Adam, that they're so completely aware of Elokus that the whole inner of their metzias becomes lost by them. They don't feel their own metzias, they feel only the Elokus. That's the difference between Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tatorah.
So then there's no change, like they're actually only just seeing the truth?
Huh?
Then there's no change, they're only actually just seeing the truth? In that
you're saying that there's no change?
And that they're just seeing the emes, and that they're seeing the same as from Misada Kadosh Baruch Hu, that there's no change. It's only like from Misada Makabel.
Yeah, you're right. That's a correct point. That really the information is the same. It just depends how you relate to it. It's just that from one direction the information is more intense and begolui for what it is. Can you understand me? And mitzad Yehuda Tatorah, the information is the same, but it's not begolui. He just knows that there is such a thing. That the Vadai, the Ha'ora, which is giving him chayas, came from the unlimited source of the Eibishter, and therefore it's the Ikar, but he doesn't have that begolui. But it's really just two different sides of the same emes of matbeya. It's just that in one side the matbeya is begolui, b'tachlis. On the other side, it's only the information is begolui, but the etzeminen is not begolui. But it's really basically the same information in inverted commas. It just depends how you're able to take that information, how you're able to relate to it. Bittul b'metzias is a very high madrega, and therefore that's called Yehudi Ilah. And the emes of bittul b'metzias is not really by nivroid, because even in Olam Habriya, we don't say that the bittul in Olam Habriya is emes of bittul b'metzias. We still call that bittul hayesh on a very high level. And therefore the emes of bittul b'metzias are the esesphiros of Atzilus. Because Atzilus is Elokus begolui. If I'm aware it's Elokus, then you can be aware of Elokus. You follow? Yeah. In other words, Elokus is Elokus. I'm sorry, Atzilus is Elokus begolui. Did you want something?
This level of Bittul Metzias, who reached them besides the Amos and Moshe Rabbeinu? Who achieved such a level?
Many people have received such a level. That's for sure. The Moshe Rabbeinu, you're right. Moshe Rabbeinu was in such a level, for sure. But most tzadikei emes, kefi hamavur b'tanya, what is a type of tzaddik, and maybe even a tzaddik she'enu gomo. They have a very close kiruv to the bittul b'metzias. They live their whole lives purely mitzad Elokus. They're not. On the contrary, like we said, metzias would be chachas. In a taste, they have a big problem with this world. How do you work this whole place out? How can you possibly live with a thing which is a metzias? There's no metzias, only no milvada. So they have a problem working out how do you come to terms with being in this world. Do you understand me? Not just because it's difficult, but because בעצם העניין אין להם הבנה בזה, because they're completely involved in our course. Bittul Yesh is somewhat the other way around. That, you know, you feel and you're slept in this whole world, and you're attracted to it, you have a shaykhus to it, the whole thing. And you know that there's other course and you want to be bottled, but you know, you work hard at just gaining a more complete relationship to that Bittul Yesh. That's the Indian of the Beina. He reaches the Indian from Bittul Yesh al Tzadai Tov. And in certain moments during his davening, he touches on Bittul B'Matziyah. The tzaddik is somebody who has Bittul B'Matziyah called regularly. So I mean, there are a lot of people like that. But you know, maybe we just don't, you know, we don't meet up with them so much. But Baruch Hashem, we have seen them. Yeah.
So if how is it Nakis that the Sadiqim are able to relate to us?
Yeah.
How is it that we can relate to a
It's
Sadiq?
very good. It's a very good question. Sometimes you touch on a very good question. That's a very good question. How does a tzaddik relate to us if he knows words is not part of the real, and he knows that the only Matthias is really the Eibishter? Why does he bother with the whole thing? That's his Kabbalah Sel. That's the emes of Kabbalah Sel of a tzaddik. Because a tzaddik can just say, well, I need this whole thing for, what I need this whole business. I've got, you know, Gilel Akus, and I understand Amiti Sa'inim from Kula Kamei, Kalei Chashive, but the whole thing I just sit and go from Madrega to Madrega in Elakus. You follow? So what's this whole business? So that's his emes of Kabbalah Sel, that he dafke comes down into the world and has to do with the world. But then he's got a milah that he's like a guest in the world. He's not tough wood, and therefore he's able to see what's supposed to be done around here. There's a famous expression in Yiddish, a Gast kommt auf a Weil und sieht a Mile. You know the famous expression. A guest comes for a while and he sees a mile. So that's what it means. Now, that's the Indian of a great tzaddik is somebody that the whole thing is by, and that Kabbalah Sel, you should know that Kabbalah Sel is unbelievably more than any Kabbalah Sel that you'll be able to master up. With all due respect. With all due, derech eretz for the Kabbalah Sel that you doubtless have and you will have as you go along. And when Mashiach will come, then we'll have a different type of Kabbalah Sel. Is of Al Chapanim, you'll never be able to imagine that Kabbalah Sel. That you could just be completely bottled in Matthias, you could just be completely, Tveikes, Amiti, from Ava, Betanugim, Kol Azman. Mamish Kol Rega V'Rega, Me'ein Eilam Haba, Mamish, Me'ein Eilam Haba. And nonetheless you come down into the world and you busy yourself with all the kofetik, with all the people who all they've got is Bittul Hayesh, Alavayla, the way it should be, and you busy yourself with that, there's a bigger Kabbalah Sel than that. It doesn't exist. Does it Moshe Rabbeinu and all the great tzaddikim, including our Rabbeim and the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach Bavadai, is that's an unbelievable bittul. You follow? Very good, Maisha. So he says, "Lagabi ha'ora shana shemakil ha'ilames, ha'ilames ein b'mertzias, ela shebeteglin. Zo Shema Yisrael, Yehuda Tator." That's the call be good day is borg. Borg zijn veel maar goed ze willen worden vind je goed dat ator. Behind each should behold double. Yes, will high kiva well. That's what Bittul Yesh is able to come to appreciate. But the day calls there, Nasa will have to Es Hashem Chulu, that you come to Ava to Kochbovel, the close Madregas Hanal. B'madregas Klodios, hein b'kinas chitzenius halev adayim. He said all these madregas, Klodios, we talk about them generally speaking, then he said they're all chitzenius halev. That's pretty heavy going. Who b'kinas ava chitzenius? It's just a surface ava. Why? Mipnei shebo min hasoge v'izbonenes. ואינו נתפס בזה בבחינת העצמוס דאין סייף, כי אם בבחינת מציאס לבוא. So he said, since all these avas come from a form of hasoga, understanding on the part of the nivra, hasoga means his grasp, and they come from his bonus, which means his appreciation and his meditation, or whatever you call it, what his bonus. Then he said, we must say that it's only chitonius legabi him, and it's only tofes, and it only grasps the chitonius of the Eibishter. Because what can a nivra possibly understand? What can a created being, what sort of hasoga can he have in Emes Elokut? And how much can you possibly appreciate? And therefore we pointed out that even in that madriga of the Yorein Seif, Hamuflamino Elamus, it's a form of hasoga sashlila. It's like going out of hasoga into the Mailam hasoga, but it's still a form of hasoga. And then we saw that there's even higher than we go into Atzma and say, oh, but that's the truth, that that's already beyond his bonaness to a certain extent. But why is it still linked with his bonaness? Because you came to it through his bonaness. Okay. And therefore, there are certain levels, which are called, what we call here, Rusa Deliba, on certain levels even of Rusa Deliba, you can move through his bonaness into a level called Rusa Deliba. We're going to see that the Emes Pnimius and the Emes fundament of Rusa Deliba is not connected with his bonaness at all. And therefore the Rebbe said, anything which is asoga, how much can it really grasp? How is a nivra able to appreciate a lakus? He's yesh miyayin. The whole in of a nivra is a in from Matzias. He's a yesh. So albeit he comes to a bittul of a even with all his bittul, how much can he really know and understand in Elokut? And therefore we have to say that this is mitzad echad in the Odom, it's his chitonius, and all he's really grasping, and his whole avo is mitzad the chitonius of Elokut, mitzad the chitonius of the Eibishter. Avo pnimis, im chidus pnimis alev shaloi tovim is bonus herim v'zem manim v'tzeicho. So from there follows, achidish is achidish nifla. Here we see that this whole avo of mi liba shomayim v'imcha, anything which is batil, anything which is only a ha'ora, but not you yourself. Yeah, imcha lecha. We saw that's a very high madrega of like a rotzoi to the atzmas. The Alter Rebbe was heard saying that will nicht dein Gan Eden, will nicht dein Eilam Hava, will manage dich allein, or they're going to do it. And there come to us and we're saying, oh yeah, it's all gewaldig, it's all tremendous. Aber sof, that's chitonius. That's shart chitonius alem. That's a chiddush. Because many drushim is brought down that Ahava of Avim Cholei Chofatzti, that Madrege, what the Alter Rebbe said, the woman is married to Dichalei, das Mamish Pnimis Alev, das is Kio Atzmius, the Kudas Pnimis Alev, V'chulei, and it's based on the same posse, Avim Cholei Chofatzti. And here we say, no, Avim Cholei Chofatzti, this is Chitenius Alev, so that's it. So, sorry here in Kitzas. What's the kesher? So we have to say that in the Inyan of Yom Chalei Chofatzti and the Madrega that we call Ivul as Dichalein, which is what the Alter Rebbe summed up that whole Madrega with his famous statement. Now we have to say that in that itself there are different levels, there are different oifanim that can express itself. In other words, there's a way that you can come to a me'ain of that through Bizbonim. And then there's another level in that which is purely mitzad the pnimis ve'atzmiyas. So we have to say that by the big chiddush that we make by the Alter Rebbe, he said, who managed Dichalein, and certain was such, that is the Madrega Elyoin, I should say. That's Madrega. So we can say that just like we pointed out when we get to this whole concept of Rius and Daliba, there are like two ways you can sort of touch at it. There's one way that you can come through his bonaness and through understanding, and then from that understanding you come to a realization of fire, like Yasovas Hashlila. And then when you reach the end of the Yasovas Hashlila, then you say, oh, now I'm moving into what you might call the tremendous unknown of the Eivishter, and I'm taking a Kabbalah Seldige jump, I'm taking a sprung, and I'm going in and I'm just giving myself away entirely. You follow? So that means that I've come to Rusa Deliba, having gone through all different levels of his bonniness, and from that I appreciate that Gufa tells me that there's Lamaila in his bonniness. Can you understand me? That his bonniness, being perfect or being very high, has told me that there must be, because that's what the whole idea of Shlila ultimately implies, that no matter how high you go, there's always something incomparable. Well, that's even from B'Musla Mimcha Loi Sach Koyer. We put down a famous statement at the Sefer. What was it called? I've forgotten the name of the Sefer. Anyway, it's one of the Sforim Chitania. So, Lafizeh, that's a Riyusa Deliba, and that's a Gilui of an Aveda, which is ultimately Lamaila Mitam Vadas, which came through Tam Vadas. We have to say that there's another level in this whole Inyam Anim Chalei Chafatzti, which comes from the Emerson of Jerusalem, which we're going to see now. And the Emerson of Jerusalem is not through, it's not you came to that and you jumped into a level which becomes Rusa Deliba because you went through all the levels of his bonniness and Hasoga, but there's another type of Rusa Deliba. We're going to see that that's how two etzems, as it were, click together, and because they really belong together. And that doesn't need any of his bonniness at all. That just needs the mesh to remind himself almost of it, and to just, tip himself off that there is such an inyan, and then he can become deeply misfeira in that inyan, because the fact that he is an Shomer Yisrael, he's got in himself that inyan atzmi which connects him with the Etzem of Elikus. We're now going to see a whole inyan of the dogma of Ahava between a father and a son. That's what the whole thing now is going to be based on. And that's not connected with his bonniness, and yet it's a very deep Ahava, which both sides feel a tremendous drawing to that Ahava without them having to be misboinen in it, and yet it affects the whole Matzia. And so that's what we're going to say, that there's a relationship in Ahava between the Eivish and Yidden, also in a way that is purely mitzad a father to a son, to a bear. And that's the embassy in Rusa Deliba, and that somebody who's a really great Oived Hashem, then he can sort of waken that up without his bonus of his stills before when he caught them the Emes Laviti with the Emes beetle to that Indian. Yeah, mitzad the fact that that's by him Golui Mamish, well then he can come to like the Alter Rebbe, and he'll say, who gone? That was how he started. He will gonish, that means you don't have any rotzen anymore, because don't want anything. You just want what the Evish wants. And in a way, I suppose you do have a rotzen, but your only rotzen is just to be with him. Why do we say rotzen? We'll see about that in a second as well. Alright, so he said, Mashekim Pnim Zalev, Ibkinis Shaloi Tovoi Mizbonen Saseicho, Ela Bo Milamaila Min Aseicho, He Anikru Ryusa de Libo, the rotzen of the heart. The word Rusa in Aramaic means rotzen. The rotzen of the heart. Shebo Val Yodo, that in this Madrega and through it, Yesh B'chinas Tfiso, Gam B'chinas Atzmes, Gam B'chinas Atzmes. Okay, Moshe Diktek B'oimrei Davke, that Leis Machshava Tfisabe. That was precise. He meant that Davke. Leis Machshava Tfisabe. Machshava Davke. Anything which is in the level of Hasoga, even in how it is Mitzat Chochma, Choshav Ma, any Madrega in understanding of Hasoga is not Tofis. Avo Barusa Deliba Nitfas B'chinas Atzma. So we're going to see what does it mean Nitfas. We're going to see it means like a being drawn into that level, not in a mamishtika way, that you literally link up with it and you become part of it, because any form of a soga means a distance between you and the thing. We say tefisa, and that can mean a very perfect level of a soga, but it means you and the door hamusak are two different inyanim. Even though the Yeshem hasoga itself is a great ichud, you still remain the thing and the inyan and the one understanding it. When we say Rusa Deliba, we mean a link where the two things literally form like one entity together. And they become like involved one in the other.
Didn't you say yesterday with Seifel there has to be with the Midah there has to be Zulas, but with Seifel it doesn't necessarily require Zulas?
Yeah, that was another Maisa. That's what we meant, the usage of your Seifel. The usage of your Seifel is better when you don't have a Zulas. You understand? We can imagine you using your Seifel when you don't have a Zulas. The etyminion of being masik something still remains another entity outside you. But the whole union of the function of a midah can only be imagined when there's somebody else. Mashik and Seichel can function even when it doesn't have somebody else. Got that there? Alright, so now he says, Ela rak mitzat, where are we? Dehine pnimis alev ainu avrusa deliva nitfas b'chinas atzma. Goinian, dehine pnimis alev ainu ais kashrus b'chinas atzmios. The joining together of two entities mitzad their essence, mitzad their atzmios. And iskashrus means like inter-reaction or inter-binding one to the other in the union of atzmios. Shebo m'chinas yechida shebenefesh davke. And how can we imagine that the Kaviyohi, you could be linked up to the Eibush in a way that you and him become like one intermixture, like one interwovenness? He said that can only be mitzad a level called Yechida shebenefesh. Now you know the famous expression that you say in the Hakofis, around in Adikot, in Sukkot with the Lulav, we say the expression on the Yom Gimel, we say Yechida leyachadoch. Yechida leyachadoch. So that means that the Eibishter, how Mitzad Amitius Ha'atzmas, the Eibishter is Yechida, he's Yochid. There's really nothing else. The truth of the matter is that everything is just completely batil. So it's not even shy to talk about anything else apart from him. And therefore, Mitzad Amitius Ha'atzmas, the Eibishter is Yochid. He's one and only. And there's a certain part of the neshama which he gives off from that level into you, and that's called Yechido. And therefore the great Python, he said, Yechido leyachadoch. Your Yechida is the one and onlyness of your neshama, and it relates and forms the kesher with the one and onlyness of the Eibishter Kaviyach. Right? How the Eibishter is mamish completely on his own, and ein oid novada. And that's enough for Yechida leyachadoch. And therefore, how can these two inyonim of a mensch and the Eibishter link together and become like one inyan? Well, that's what we're saying now, is the tefisa of Rusa Deliba. So he said that's mitzad the Yechida, because other aspects of the neshama have already become a separate entity. But the Yechida always remains joined up with him, and particularly in most places in Chassidus, there's even higher than Yechida. Yechida is also a certain point or level, but the immediate atzmas of the neshama is even higher than Yechida. So that means that the two etzims literally join together, and that's the word Yechida. So that was says the Rebbe, Shebo m'chinas Yechida shebenefesh davke. This is kashrus of Rusa Deliba is mitzad the Yechida. Ukamoyal der Moshe is kashrus haben im ho'av. Here we begin the mashal of ben va'av, which now goes for quite a way here in the Maimar. She'enu al pi tam vodas klal. It's not through any form of reasoning and understanding at all. But that means to say that the level of Yechida is not al pi tam vodas. In other words, not that the other levels of the neshama are al pi tam vodas, but what it means is you can't understand it al pi tam v'das. On the other levels of the neshama can in some way relate to tam v'das. You know, you can understand that there's chayas, and you can understand that there's a level which gives us asot chayas, another which gives another chayas. There's a chayas in the moichin, there's a chayas in the midas. All of those can somewhat be understood. We can appreciate how they function. And they can have a certain name, al pi tam v'das. Of the Yechida being as it is linked with the one and onlyness of the Eibishter, how he's completely beyond the whole Seder of the Bria completely, and everything is batil in the form of Yochid, well, that you can only have through something which is not reasoned at all. You know, it's like a father and a son. That's one on the famous beer in the second Perek of Tanya, that the Ben is miatzmas for Av, and we say that goes on even after he's born and even after he's wandering around out there in the world, but to a certain extent he has within him the atmas of the Av. The famous Tiktuk dort in Perek Beis in Tanya and the ganze Biur. Well, that makes possible this interconnection called Rusa Daliba. And therefore he said it's not al pi tam v'das klal. Ela rak mitzad shanim shechon nefesh haben min ho'av, and how, or from what aspect of the Av, mibchinas atzmusei mamish, v'nechshav kamoihu mamish, and he's nechshav mamish like the father. Kamoi, as the statement has it, bro karo davua, that the son is literally the leg of the father. He's part of the father's being. Bro karo davua. So they all break their heads to work out exactly where is that written. Bro karo davua. There's a certain this, a certain sforim, a certain this, a certain here and there. But there's a Gemara Masechta Eruvin which talks about a son who is Yoirish from his father. And so the Gemara uses over the expression that Yoresh Kara Davua, somebody who's an inheritor, he's somebody who's inheriting from somebody, that he's like the leg of the, and in that particular Gemara it's talking about the Ben, because he's the first Yoirish. So the Gemara uses the expression Yoirish Kara Davua. So what Chassidus has done, I think, is it's like paraphrased that expression of the Gemara, because after all, it is talking about a ben. It doesn't use that expression, bro kara davua. It says yerush kara davua. It's talking about the pula in halacha of Yerusha. When you're yerush, you take everything that the father has, and it becomes yours. So you're like his being. You're like his leg. But the exact expression bro kara davua is not really used anywhere. But it's brought down in certain great Sforim, early Sforim, that they must attach the Gemara and Eruv in that way also. It really means that the son, who is the Yerush in that particular case, he's called Kara Davua. So he's literally the Matthias of the father. And therefore the Rebbe says Ke'inyan, similar to that. Because why does he say just Ke'inyan? Because really it's higher than that. The leg is only a part of the body of the father. So Mami's, his whole essence. We want to say that when he gives birth to a son, then his whole essence goes into the son. Umamela, Aishkashrus hu ba'atzmis oav. The kesher between a ben and a father is that the son is makusha in the atzmis, because he comes from the atzmis. Mamela Iskashrus hu ba'atzmis oav davki in the atzmis va'ena deima. Mamela, it's not to be compared le'avus oihe v'ahu. Therefore, you can't compare it to the ava, or to the relationship of a lover with a loved, oihev and ahuv. He said, agam sheyochel liyez b'zeh gam kein teikah for ava. You have a teikah of Iskashrus. You can have two people that they devote themselves one to the other, and there can be a very teikah of a strong power, and a teikah of Iskashrus, of intertwovenness, of mamish being involved one with the other. Therefore he writes in Yiddish, mita'avekleg, with the giving away of the self. Mita'avekleg means the giving away of the self. Hine yesh b'zeh eis sibos el ha'ava v'Iskashrus. Emes, there can be Ava Viskashas, but there must always be certain reasons, or how do you call it, causes, or like, what's the expression, like motivations that bring to that. So what it means is that in Poil it can be very self-effacing, it can be very devoted, very emes, very, self-beetle, the relationship between Anoy and Mitara. But he said there are certain things which are brought to that which are explicable some way or another. Therefore they're called sibos, like an explicable reason. He said, it could be, in simple terms, because the one person that he admires and he loves so much is good to him. He does a lot of good for him. Maybe he likes and he loves this other person because of some big elevation and big, how do you call it, maila that the other guy has. Shuish miula. He's a very quality and elevated person. And therefore he loves him and he's even involved and tied up to him. But that comes with the fact that he's become aware of the guy's milas. They see this guy's a great Baal Mila and he's a great, person. Therefore he wants to have a shaykhus when he wants to be involved, when he wants to be devoted to him. And particularly if he's done good things to him, then there's a certain type of feedback, like what we might call hakol satui, things of that nature, what they are like sibos. They can bring to very high devotion, but there's reasons why it all began. In other words, that there are inyonim which are, how could you be understood and analyzed as having led to that iskashras. Some form of what you might call analysis of the situation and a reflection in that, and a certain appreciation of the seichel. He's a good person and he gives him a lot of chesed. If you say the person is a great person, then he's got to understand, he's got to have enough seichel and enough appreciation to grasp just how great this person is. Once he's understood the manner of that ilui and the form of the elevation that there is in this person, then he becomes bound. And bound means that he becomes involved with him. He's not easily separable from him. Or Mosur, he's given over to him, he's devoted to him. And in Yiddish, ervet suem iber gigeben. He becomes devoted to him. Iber gigeben means giving over yourself. Giving over the soul. I will say davki kasher maybe no ili shaloi. That's davki when there's been this, what you might call noticeable motivation, this noticeable reasoning and factor which is brought to this recognition, and that's caused a very deep interaction between the two, which can even come to a form of devotion of himself. If he hadn't really understood this person well, he hadn't really been mispointed and all the miles are around about this guy, then he wouldn't be makusha and mosel. He might be a general admirer, he might say, oh yeah, I've heard great things about this person, he's really an ish miler, etc. But to be bound up with him and involved in him and given over to him, and he called masur. Masur means, as they say, I'll do anything for you, man. I'm prepared to go to even to the extent of my own discomfort and even masur nefesh to help you, etc., to be devoted to you. But that's all got a reason. It's all mitzad, the understanding of the Maila. Mamela therefore said, the Rebbe, since that's the case, Magia Rakba Gilui Shel Ha'ahuv. V'loi be'atzmus ha'mamish. Me'achar shezoisi sibas ha'ava. Mitzad toiv midoisav, oi toiv sichloi, oi ha'ili shaloi. Arei mamela es kashus hu gam kein rak bezois levad. V'loi bio atzmus shaloi mami. And that was it, that ever since all of these tremendous devotions on his part have come mitzad what you might call inyonim which are moving and appreciable in the person you love, and not in his very essence. Since that's the sibah to the ava and to the devotion, and that is mitzad his good midas or his good seichel, and mitzad the other elevations that he has, then that means that his kashrus gam kein rak bezois. That means that your kashrus to him is not in his very essence, but it's in his milah. You're makusha, but you're makusha in his milah. In other words, if somebody says, "Why are you doing all these things?" You say, "Well, because I really know this guy. I really know who he is. Therefore I'm prepared to do this and that." But it's not really because he's the etzem is involved in the other guy's etzem.
What's the difference between him and the actions he does?
And the actual?
What's the difference between himself and the actions that he does, the things he does, the things he says?
The difference between him and the thing is
his atmos.
Well, you see, the Ilui and the Milas that he shows, they are for sure lefi even of his etzem. Because a go poshet mensch, be'etzem, wouldn't be able to show these Milas. Are you with me? So therefore you got a good point in that regard. Of a so-called sofa, a thing which is a Mila, no matter how, it's not really mitzad the very essence. It's not how do you call it, the essence, or even the gilu of the essence. It's lefi erev of the essence. Have you got me? But the etzem essence of a person remains moved up from all of his giluim. But just a gora, a person who didn't have that type of essence, wouldn't have revealed these milas. But the ava which comes mitzad reasoning and mitzad these sibas only reaches those in yonim in him. It doesn't reach into his etzem. In other words, what the Rebbe means to say is, it's an ava mukbelas, the so-called of it's limited to certain inyonim which have produced it. So albeit they're good and they bring to what's called masiras. Masiras means devotion. But ultimately there must be some limit or hagbola in that devotion. But these inyonim are not really his essence, even though they may be proportionate in some way to his essence. You got that in? So he says, Chantiv Medesh, Gamkin Rapizois Lavad, Loibi Atzma Shaloi Mami. In other words, that all the tremendous devotion and all the kesher reaches only those milas. And the mocker in his nefesh for those milas. But Mami's his very essence, they don't reach. And therefore, with all its tremendous greatness of this type of relationship, it's not Mamish a kesher atzmis. Ashinkin avas ha'ava laben. Here comes it. Lo mitzad lo ibi atzm shaloi mamish. Ashinkin avas ben el ha'av or avas ava laben. Eina mitzad ha'toiv sheboi. Lo mitzad ha'ilui. Lo mitzad ha'ashpoa shemashpia loi. Ki im mitzad shu etzem echad im oi. And there was a famous cloud that sometimes a father can love a not good son, a son that has caused him difficulties in life. Sometimes he loves him even more, or he feels even more, sort of, he's cautious to him in a way than the one who's, got good reasons why he should love him as well.
With Esau.
Perhaps?
Yitzchak, Yaakov and Esau. Yitzchak loved
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, very good point. That Yehav Yitzchak is Esau. Even though there's a whole sort of beer and primus of Dvarim, but that was Kila, especially as called Haprati of Einachnam. Yeah, you're right.
What about Avas David James?
James?
Avas David.
Yeah. I thought somebody was going to maybe come up with that. Is Einachnam. We have to say that it's called over there, Yidbach Nafsh Nefesh Dovid Nefesh Yedis, Yeah. You'd not never David, but never Janison. Yosef me Avos Isho. More than what a male can love a woman or more. There's certain interesting things there. And so it's much in certain places it says that that's a iskashus atzmi. So we have to say that there are certain people that they have a kesher pnim with the atzmi, even though they're not father and son. But in some Indian, in pnimis hashoyros, they have a certain kesher. And that was put down in the Siddur Kabbalah. There were certain people that they had like it's at the shoyros l'mayla, they had a kesher. So therefore, it's also almost like the kesher of a father with a son. So it's beyond the normal. That's what the Pasuk says. It was just, and therefore, it should consider that Yoinus is in Zohar, Pnimi Zohar, Malchus, David in for Malchus. Pnimi Zohar and Malchus belong together. They have a discussion, Pnimi Svat together. It's at the shoyros l'mayla.
Is there any way somebody can be masik the atzmos of another person? He says over here that.
Yeah, we see the question you asked about Avos Yonis, that was a very good question, because it does appear in certain Lashonas to get very close to that. So we could say that's what I'm trying to answer you, that if they've got a kesher with Pnimius, Advorim Lamayla, in Olam HaRuchnius, in Olam HaSfiras, HaEmes, so that their kesher can become very close, if not border on the same meaning. But to say that it's mamish with every detail the same as the Ben Matav, I would say it's a little hard to say, but it gets close to it. It certainly gets beyond what we just wrote here. But here we're talking about, it's a very deep iskashas, but it's mitzad ninyon. And with David and Yun, it wasn't mitzad just these type of, it was something much greater. And that's what the Pasuk says. But nonetheless, mamish doesn't reach Yesh Lem, doesn't reach the same madrega as the father with the son, even though it's very hard.